dragged from what could be any comic shop in the United States to host this incredibly nerdy podcast are some of the most enthusiastic comic book readers ever assembled. They are the Comic-Booksters, dedicated to discussing news, speculation, and recommendations for all comic buyers. Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of the Comic-Booksters podcast, where we talk about everything comics. Whether it's what we're currently reading, past storylines, what we're excited for in the future, or related media like movies and video games. Our goal is to give you our analysis on the comics industry and hopefully be entertaining while doing so. My name's Nerdcore, and I'm joined by my fellow comic bookster, perennial kid sidekick, Obi the Boy.
Hello, welcome to Comic-Booksters.
So, we're excited to be recording our first episode today, and we got a couple of topics to talk about. I guess the biggest news coming out of this, and something that both me and Obi are kind of excited for, maybe dreading slightly, is DC Rebirth, because once again, it's another big DC relaunch. And I'm going to be honest, at heart, I'm kind of more of a DC guy than I am a Marvel guy, admittedly. But
I mean, I have a DC tattoo, so...
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going to try to be unbiased on this podcast and give equal coverage, but we do have our things that we like, and DC Comics is one of them. So, what we know about Rebirth so far is that it's supposedly not going to be a reboot, right? Like, Jeff Johns and Dan DiDio, Jim Lee, they've all come out and said that this is not a reboot.
No, it's like the Green Lantern Flash Rebirth from, what was that, 2008, 2009? They did that?
Oh, Green Lantern was back in the 2004, I think. But still, I mean, it's supposed to, I guess, capture the core of the character, taking new things that were implemented and keeping those while bringing back the classic material, which sounds awesome if this is indeed what it is. I mean, there's been some rumblings from certain creators that that's not exactly what they pitched, but it seems like this is the feel they're going for.
I think it's because there's also that 2-year interweavel that they're talking about. The story's going to go between different books. So there's going to be a point where you're going to have to read a book that you've probably never read.
That's true, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, though, because crossovers to this point have just been done to the point of ad nauseum, but I don't know. Like, I'm going to pick up DC Universe Rebirth #1, which is where everything's going to begin. But the books I'm looking to read are like my normal stuff. Huge Batman guy, so I'm going to definitely be picking up Batman-related books. Green Lantern, of course. I'm also looking at Flash and Wonder Woman. It seems like Flash is going to be tied really heavily to this concept as far as moving it forward, which I guess, considering the character's history, is fitting, but I'm not sure if I'm going to want to be reading like Batman and then be told, oh, hey, you want to know exactly what's going on, now you need to pick up this issue of Aquaman.
Yeah, I agree with that. Going with that, like this Titans Rebirth #1, it literally has a warning in the DC previews. Do not read it if you haven't read DC Universe #1 Rebirth.
Well, thank God I'm planning on picking up DC Universe Rebirth #1 because I'm really excited for Titans. Titans Hunt has been one of my favorite books lately. I really like the way that Dan Abnett's been approaching the Titans, and I'm glad to see some history brought back into this new 52 timeline, according to the original Titans. So, yeah, what we know about DC Rebirth with the previous catalog that's been released here in the past couple weeks is substantially more than what we knew a month ago.
Yeah, from WonderCon.
Yeah. So, Obi, what are we looking forward to? Or what are you looking forward to, rather, and I'll get to what I'm looking forward to.
I'm really looking forward to Green Arrow.
Obviously.
Green Arrow is my guy. Always will be. The only thing is, like, especially if you read this previews book, that quote about trying to get it close to feeling like Denny O'Neil and Mike Grell, I don't know if this writer can touch that.
Who's actually writing that book right now?
The same guy that's doing it right now.
Okay, Ben Percy?
Ben Percy, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, I don't know, because I just wasn't able to get into the current run of Green Arrow when he came on. Like, I enjoyed it at first, but with the Tarantula story arc and then the werewolf thing, it just kind of lost me a little bit. But...
Exactly. He tells a different story, so I'm not sure if he even knows quite the vibe he's looking for.
Maybe tapping into some of that O'Neil and Grell stuff will benefit him. I mean, I understand wanting to make the story your own and everything, and touching new ground is always good. but sometimes you got to think about what fits the character, and it sounds like he wants to take him back to his pre New 52 roots a little bit, and maybe that will help me better connect with the character in these stories.
That's it seems to be the thing because they've had a drastic drop off in sales on the Green Arrow book, almost as bad as the Flash book. Apparently, Flash has had a humongous drop off,
which is sad. I used to really love reading Flash. Bucaletto, I'm hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Bucaletto and Francis Menopause run on that were that was tremendous, and I really enjoyed it. It was just the perfect mesh of writing and art. I don't think I've ever seen a creative team gel quite the way that they did. But hopefully they can bring up these sales on these books. I mean, Green Arrow and Flash especially. I know DC probably has higher expectations with them because of the shows.
Yeah, I was reading an article from Bleeding Cool about a comic shop called Big Bang Comics,
Mm-hmm.
and they were talking about the sales numbers they released from the pre-orders just for this, and their pre-orders for Flash #1 went up 150% from what they're selling right now.
That's awesome. But Flash, I believe they've done a complete change on creative team, if I'm not wrong. Currently, yeah, Joshua Williamson is coming on board, and I believe that he is replacing Robert Venditti, who I guess is solely focusing on the Green Lantern books right now. But yeah, change the creative team might not necessarily bad for that book. I find that Flash was another thing that I suffered a disconnect with when it came back from DCU. So we'll find out and see how it works. But Flash sounds like it has a really interesting concept too, with the birth of these many speedsters that are going to supposedly be inhabiting the DC universe now.
Yeah, I see. There's I have kind of have a problem with that though. I like Flash when he's not. He's the speedster. That's what I really like
because that's what makes him special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I like him doing Captain Cold and Boomerang and like that's where I want Flash. I don't want Flash with like Zoom or I mean Reverse Flash is alright, but like I don't want all these other speedsters running around in the book, especially just coming out. Like it's not a reboot per se, but it is kind of like a retelling in its own way. I don't want all those speedsters there.
That's fair enough. I can understand both sides of the coin. I personally think that it'll be an interesting story. I think if it goes on too long, I don't think that they can do 2 years worth of just speed related characters and have it be successful. Eventually, I'm worried that that'll get stale. But hopefully, they manage to, at least tell a decent story with it and then move on to something else in the grand scheme of their tale that they're trying to weave here. Surprisingly, with Rebirth for me, I'm a huge Batman guy, but I think the books that I'm most excited for are the Superman related titles. At the very least, Superman and Action Comics.
My #1 is probably Rucka going back to Wonder Woman.
Definitely, especially after what's happened the past 2 years on that book. I just am excited to see someone else come in because I used to read Wonder Woman avidly. Azzarello and Shang's run at the start of the New 52 was just great, and something got lost in translation after they left. I don't know what it was, but with Greg Rucka coming back, and his run there in the early 2000s was awesome.
Fantastic.
I loved it. I believe that was going into Infinite Crisis. But I'm a big fan of Greg's. Gotham Central, his work on Batman, Wonder Woman. I've been reading Lazarus. He wrote the best Wolverine stuff that I ever had the pleasure of reading through. Well, that's my opinion at least. Obi's here shaking his head at me, but I'm really excited to see him come back on and revisit Wonder Woman, and I think we're going to get some great stuff out of that. But with the Superman books, like I was saying, from what I understand, the New 52 Superman is gone. I don't know if he's dead. He's supposedly dying in this current story arc that we're doing now. I feel like he's going to end up depowered again, and he might be this Clark Kent that they're talking about, because apparently there's going to be a separate Clark Kent from Superman, who is actually going to be the pre-Flashpoint Superman, which is a character that I really enjoyed from post-Crisis till Flashpoint. He had numerous revamps between there, obviously, with Birthright and Secret Origin. But I really like that character, and he's my Superman, and now he's going to be the Superman of the Rebirth universe. Granted, he's going to be a little older. He's going to have his son being Superboy, but it sounds like they're at least trying to do something interesting with the Superman books. I'm just hoping that this kind of sticks for them.
Yeah, here's the thing though. Again, with that, like I was telling you about the Big Bang Comics, with their sending out their tweets about what they were having,
Mm-hmm.
they had their least amount of subscriptions on Superwoman.
Yeah, and the Superwoman concept kind of seems a little out there to me because Superman's powers have been divided between her and this character in New Superman, this Chinese child. I forget what his name is because they just recently changed it. It was I want to say Kenji Kong, but they changed it to something else recently that currently escapes me. But I find it strange that they're trying to divide Superman's powers and make multiple super characters off of that. I'm sure we haven't read the storylines actually, obviously at this point. So seeing how it all plays out might cause a different opinion here in the end. But Lois Lane as Superwoman gaining Superman's powers while it's killing her. Honestly, it kind of reeks to me of what they're doing in Thor with Jane Foster right now over at Marvel, and I could see how that concept could fall flat on its face just given the gimmick.
But it's not the first time that Lois Lane's been giving Superman type powers.
Yeah, well, that's not the first time that Jane Foster's been given Thor's powers.
I know.
Either.
I'm just saying. I don't know. Lois Lane is a much more interesting character in my opinion than Jane Foster. So I will actually probably be reading Superwoman.
Okay. And what has you excited for Super? Just the fact that Lois is an interesting character. I mean, you gotta love Lois Lane. I'm really excited for Action Comics because, as you know, I'm a huge Lex Luthor guy, which is weird to say. Like I tell people I'm a Lex Luthor fan, and they raise an eyebrow at me, and they decide they don't want to be my friend anymore. But I love Lex Luthor, and the fact that he is trying to usurp not only Superman's role as protector of Metropolis, but the legacy of the S-Shield, just sounds like the perfect jerk move that Lex Luthor would pull. And I'm really excited to see how he coexists with the pre-Flashpoint Superman, because they are obviously going to meet.
They are obviously not going to coexist.
Yeah, but still, it'll be a fun story to watch play out.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a fun story, which is going to end up with Lex very much hurt.
We'll see. I believe in Lex Luthor. Despite Batman vs Superman, I believe in Lex Luthor.
We will. That's another story for another day or
Maybe.
later.
Maybe we'll get into that later. So, anything else you're excited for rolling out of Rebirth that you want to?
Oh, Batgirl and the Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're bringing over New 52, Helena Bertinelli, and they're turning her into Huntress, right?
Right.
Okay. So what do we got going on here with Batgirl and the Birds of Prey? The hunt for Oracle?
The hunt for Oracle, yes. That is awesome. So apparently there's a person trying to pretending to be Oracle, which is really weird seeing that Barbara is leading the Birds of Prey.
Yeah, it's Batgirl.
As Batgirl and not being Oracle.
And she was Oracle in this universe apparently between runs as Batgirl while she was down for the count. Yeah. So
I mean, there's that. I just love Birds of Prey. I always loved that dynamic. Gail Simone's run, those were some of the best comics I ever read.
See, I liked Gail's run. I also really like Chuck Dixon's run. I felt like Birds of Prey pre New 52, right up until Gail left, was just phenomenal. So it's cool to see inspiration being drawn from those two runs. At least that's what it looks like was happening, being put into this new Batgirl and Birds of Prey series. So you'll have to let me know how it is because my pull list only has so much room on it.
So does mine, and that is just one that is right there.
Good.
Huntress.
Yeah, you love Hunters, man. I get it. I really do. But trying to think, Green Lantern, those books I'm kind of interested in.
More for the art for me.
More for the art for you. Storyline wise, after Jeff left, I kind of found myself falling to the wayside a little bit with it. I keep reading it consistently, but it's not capturing my interest as much. And the same writer, Robert Venditti, is staying on and doing Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps. And Sam Humphries is coming over from Marvel and working on Green Lanterns, which is Jessica Cruz, currently Power Ring, and Simon Baz, which is the Green Lantern that was introduced late in Jeff Johns' run, which caused a lot of controversy. Very divisive character. I'm not really sure why at this point. Some people, I guess, believe he was more of a publicity stunt than anything else. But it looks like we're finally going to get him fleshed out a bit more. And I'm excited for that. And it's sounds like it's going to be a buddy cop book for the most part, dealing with Green Lanterns and them protecting Sector 2814 while Hal Jordan's off in space rebuilding the Corps, it sounds like. As currently the Green Lantern Corps, including Simon Baz, has been exiled to the universe that existed before ours. So, despite what I'm reading from the solicits, I feel like the first arc of Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, is supposed to bring them back into this universe somehow. I'll be interested to see how it all plays out because Green Lantern Corps, the miniseries that they're doing currently, Edge of Oblivion, really has my interest more than the regular Green Lantern book, but I'm excited to see those two concepts reunite and see how things get rebuilt back up. But Green Lanterns just sounds fun, really fun.
Yeah, that's what it's what I look for in a Green Lantern book is fun. That's a fun book to me. They don't really test the boundaries of like darkness that much. I feel in those books, it's like the fun book.
Yeah, I mean, you have Blackest Night and everything that rolled out of that. That was real dark, pretty dark.
Pretty dark.
Yeah,
but that was again a giant crossover.
It was, but it was pretty much what Jeff Johns' run on that book had been building towards. So, but it sounds like we're getting more Red Lanterns out of Green Lanterns, which is cool because I guess Bleeze is taking over the Red Lantern Corps and she's their first real threat. Her and this Rogue Guardian, who I'm kind of interested to see if it's someone we've met before or not. Considering that the Guardians of the Universe have pretty much been changed out entirely by the end of Jeff Johns' run and vanished completely in this current Green Lantern storyline. So, I'm kind of on the fence with Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern book, or Green Lantern Corps book, but Green Lanterns, I feel like I'm like 100% on board with at this point.
Didn't they say, is Rainer coming back in this too?
I'm not sure. Somehow that's eluded me.
I thought I saw something about that, because that'd be interesting.
Yeah, if he were to come back, I'm pretty sure you'll see him in Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps. Yeah, Nightwing I'm excited to see back. As cool as the whole Grayson run was with him being a secret agent and whatnot, I'm really excited to see him back as Nightwing. Granted, he's been doing it lately in Titans Hunt, being back in the Nightwing persona, but that he's going to have his own series again as Nightwing, and that he's back to the black and blue, like, that's awesome. And they're going to be working with the Court of Owls, it looks like, again, in Nightwing, and I feel like that was one of the best things that came out of Scott Snyder's Batman run, so Nightwing's looking pretty sweet.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That's one of the best things that came out of that Snyder run was definitely Court of Owls. That whole.
But I think it's great that they're giving the opportunity to Dick Grayson, who was supposed to be part of the Court of Owls. He was supposed to be their Talon, and they're giving him the opportunity to put that organization to rest. I think that's a cool concept in itself.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you're looking at here that doesn't really have you sold on the concept at all, Obi?
I definitely don't look like I'm going to be reading Aquaman again.
No?
No.
I don't know. It sounds like it has an interesting concept to me, but a lot of the Rebirth stuff sounds like it's going to have an interesting concept to me. Like it just, but then again, it could potentially fall into the trope of just being another Aquaman versus Black Manta story.
Exactly. I'm not sure about Titans. I'm gonna see what you say about it, and then I might jump on that.
Well, Titans, like I said, Dan Abnett has been doing Titans Hunt. He's coming over to this new Titans book, which will be Nightwing, Arsenal, Donna Troy, I'm trying to remember, Lilith, and Aqualad. I feel like I'm missing someone. Well, Tempest, I'm assuming is what he'll be called in this. But I'm looking forward to it because his work with the Titans has been so strong here before.
All right. What about this new writer for Batman, Tom King?
Tom King was working on Grayson. I believe he's also done some work in the pages of Batman and Robin Eternal, if not also Batman Eternal. So he's done well with the characters, be it Batman or related characters so far in the stuff that he's been working on. I think that he'll work out well as a writer for Batman. Not to knock on David Finch, I'm just not a huge fan of his art style. But, Mikhail Janin, he is, I'm hoping I pronounce his name right. I think his work is really solid. And I am looking forward to Batman, but I don't know. It's kind of a wait and see. He's following Scott Snyder on stage with this, so he can either do really well or he can crash and burn. But I wish that creative team the best of luck with that title, because as a huge Batman fan, it's something I'm definitely going to be reading. Detective Comics, I'm also interested in. You don't seem sold, but I don't know. One of the things that I really like reading is things like the old Batman the Brave and the Bold, or Batman and the Outsiders. This is a Batman team book that we're talking about now, with my favorite Robin, which is Tim Drake. He's even though he's going to be Red Robin. Spoiler: Cassandra Cain, Batwoman, who I do like, and then Clayface in a redemption arc. So I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out. But to me, it's a Batman team book in the thread of like Batman Gotham Knights or Batman and the Outsiders, and that interests me at least. So it's another thing that I will be reading with fair consistency.
Suicide Squad would be like the team book for me that I would be looking forward to.
Well, it's got a killer team on it. Rob Williams, who I believe is writing the current run, and also Martian Manhunter, is writing that book. So, he has experience with the characters. He's proven himself to be a decent writer. And of course, you have Jim Lee on art. I'm interested to see how many different costume changes Jim Lee can come up with for Harley Quinn based on the mission.
Yeah, that's the really cool thing. I like that they're doing the per mission costume. So then instead of just doing an iconic costume for the whole thing.
Man. So, and the team, it's fairly straightforward, and it's definitely based on the upcoming movie with Harley and Deadshot, Killer Croc, Katana, and Boomerang.
I like that it sounds like they're going to try to bring Katana out to the forefront in this also. And she's a really cool character.
It's not the first time that they've tried that, because they did give her our own ongoing series there for a little while in the New 52.
Yeah, I know.
But I think a team book is the way to spotlight her, and I mean, she is going to be in that movie. Thing is, looking at the lineup for Suicide Squad as far as the team goes, I'm wondering if we're seeing like who's going to survive in this big budget movie that they're putting out this summer, and the rest of the team, are we just looking at them definitely being killed off? I feel like they've kind of spoiled a little bit of the Suicide Squad film by revealing this lineup that's obviously so closely based on the movie.
Like, there's a quote in this previews from Jim Lee that says, unlike a lot of other franchise books, the premise of Suicide Squad allows the characters to be killed. That brings a gravity to every situation that's distinguishable from the rest of the line.
But it's comics. I mean, how long does death really last?
Not long. It's honest.
Obviously, there's characters in Suicide Squad that have died and come back numerous times. Captain Boomerang was killed 10 years ago and is back already. So, Obi, where do we think things are going to go with Rebirth? Because they've said that they have this 2-year story that they want to tell. Where do you think we're heading?
Without reading DC Universe Rebirth #1, I don't know.
I mean, we could just speculate. Like, do we think we're going to get like another Crisis out of this? Because they've said that they're kind of modeling this on Countdown to Infinite Crisis.
And this I really don't want another Crisis.
Yeah. I can't say that I disagree with you there. Because the whole thing with Rebirth is apparently there's this big secret of something that the DC Universe has lost and it needs to get back. So I'm thinking we have 2 years of this build-up that's going to culminate in a crossover, not necessarily a Crisis, but they're already implementing elements of the pre-New 52 universe. Do you think we're going to have something that comes out of this crossover at the end, maybe, where perhaps, much like at the end of Infinite Crisis, the entire continuity is just unified again and everything is canon?
Possibly. I really don't want Crisis. I really don't. That's my fear.
You're not stoked for 2018 Rebirth Crisis?
No.
Or Crisis Rebirth? No. I could see it. I could see Crisis Rebirth.
I can see that them using it. Yeah, I can see them using it. I just don't want it.
Okay, best case scenario. Where do you think it'll take us?
The New 52's been on like Earth 51 or 52, and then somewhere along the line that there was a parallel and our original characters started coming into this world.
Maybe. And that might have happened with Convergence back last spring. But I kind of got the idea from Convergence that the New 52 somewhat overwrote the original timeline to an extent. I don't know. There's been speculation on that for a while, so and I'm not sure if they ever really clarified it. But
I think that's what they're trying to do. I think that's what this is going to do. Is it's going to be the definitive story on what happened.
all right. Well, hopefully we'll be able to come back to this later on after DC Universe Rebirth #1 comes out. Maybe the first round of issues as well, and we'll have a better idea of what's going on, and we'll be able to discuss that a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, I'm really excited to read that.
All right. So, Obi, what are you reading right now that you're enjoying? Or that you're not enjoying, for that matter.
That I'm really enjoying? XMen 92.
Oh, yeah? What's going on in X-Men 92? Because I have not read it yet.
You need to read it. X-Men 92 is basically the X-Men comics from not like the 92 era, plus the X-Men cartoon show mixed into a comic.
So it's all the joy of the cartoon show and all the confusion of the comics.
Correct.
Oh, man.
Literally at the end, at the end of issue #2, there's a so all the original X-Men are now teachers at the school. So there's a panel where the students are getting together to form their own group to protect the school because obviously the teachers can't do it. So the students think, and they're talking about vampires coming in, and the one kid, this is a quote from it says, "I've never seen any vampires on the X-Men TV show." That's literally in the comic.
You never did.
And by the end of the episode, you are at Dracula's castle.
You know, at least they're touching on that now because obviously vampires in the current run of X-Men have become a thing with what happened to Jubilee and whatnot.
Well, that was it's not like it's a new thing with X-Men.
Yeah,
that's pretty old.
Yeah, but still, that being said,
actually, Jubilee's the one that gets bit by the vampire in this.
Yeah, go figure, right? So, I don't know. That's really cool because it sounds to me like it's more of a continuation of the TV show than anything else.
Yeah, dude. If I love it, if you like X-Men, the cartoon show from the '90s, you'll like this comic book.
All right, cool. Anything else that you want to throw out there as?
C-3PO, the one shot, great story.
And from what you were telling me, it's the story of how he got his red arm in Force Awakens.
Right.
And it sounds like it's a very kind of dramatic and heartfelt tale.
Yeah, it is. It'll make you feel so much sadness and love and joy at the same time. Like, the droids just become their own people, and they realize that they're getting their minds wiped, but they don't know how. They can't stop it. So they just don't really realize that they're missing gaps in their thoughts.
Okay. All right. But don't want to spoil it here right now, obviously. So apparently X-Men 92 and C-3PO are definitely books that you should be picking up at the moment. Currently, the thing that I am enjoying reading the most is Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because that series just takes everything from my childhood that I loved the most and just it's like reaching into your toy box and picking out your action figures and just doing one massive crazy story. And James Tynion IV, who writes it, is doing wonderful work with it. The story is literally that the Turtles and Shredder have been transported to the DC universe, and the mutagen that powers the Turtles is wearing off. It doesn't function in this universe, so the Turtles are slowly dying. And they have to team up with Batman to take down Shredder, who has teamed up with every villain in Gotham City and expose them to the ooze. And they need to stop them, and it's just so much fun. And I don't want to give away too much of it here because I want people to go out and buy this series, whether they hunt down the back issues, because I just read issue 5 of 6 here this past week. Whether they hunt down the back issues and read the entire story that way, or if they go out and buy the trade that'll be out here in a few months.
Yeah, I'm buying the trade.
So it is glorious. If you are a child of the mid to late 80s, early 90s. Book is just, it's a must read. It's just so much fun. It's the most fun that I've had in comics for a while. Anything that you wanted to recommend going forward for people to pick up here in the next couple weeks?
Whenever the next X-Men 92 book comes out, you should pick that up.
Fair enough. And, I'm going to put it out there. It's coming out in May, but I really feel that, given the theme of our episode, go out and buy DC Universe Rebirth #1. See if it's going to be your cup of tea. It's going to be, this is a great time to jump onto DC Comics. And that'll do it for our opening episode. We would love to hear from you with feedback and suggestions. You can send those to us by email at thecomicbooksters@gmail.com or on Twitter @Comic-Booksters. And be sure to follow us on Facebook as well. Until next time, this has been Nerdcore and Obi.
Have a fantastic weekend.
And happy reading.